Welcome to Flex Your Feelings, the mental health and wellness podcast with myself, James Penny, and my wonderful co-host, Sam Bell.
What's going on?
And we're also joined today, I'm very excited. Very excited. We've got our first guest on the podcast.
Girl?
You can identify as whatever you want.
We have our first guest.
That was good.
I've misgendered
15
you within
seconds.
15 seconds. I'm so sorry.
It's not the first time.
The lovely Elliot Burgess, therapist, father of three, an all-round wonderful human being. And also, you're our producer as well, aren't you? You are behind the scenes of our podcast, making it all work.
Well, yes. Investing in you, investing both of you, and investing in everything, mental health and well-being. So looking forward to this.
Welcome. It's lovely to have you.
Taking our guest virginity.
Yeah.
Very happy about this.
This is your first guest.
It is, yeah.
Did I say
Fancy
that?
that.
I think
You
I said
did
that.
that. You
Did
did
I
say
say
that,
that?
yeah.
You're making me doubt myself. Gaslighting.
Never doubt yourself.
That's not something to laugh about, obviously. However, yes, you are our first guest. This is very
I'm
exciting.
honoured.
Well, thank you very much for being here. Or being in your own...
Yeah.
Thank you for being in your own
staying
studio.
in my own house and in my own studio.
You've travelled far.
Just over there.
Yeah, I've come from the kitchen.
Just give us the receipt for the expenses. We'll be all right. We'll reimburse you.
Actually, to be fair, this is my... Well, you said I'm a therapist as well. This is my therapy and podcast room. So.
Oh, I didn't realise it doubled up as your therapy.
Yeah, so it's the giving back and the giving back room.
There you go.
There you go.
Look at that.
The giving back in the giving back room.
Yeah.
Giving back double whammy.
Indeed.
Yeah. So I wonder if we could start with talking about, I did mention in the intro that you are a father of three. It'd be wonderful to hear a bit more about your experiences of, obviously our podcast is about mental health and wellness, slightly from a male perspective.
Yep.
You're raising three boys?
Raising two boys.
Two boys.
One's an older lad now, but I've got an 11-year-old and I got a 5-year-old. And the interesting, I guess the interesting thing for perhaps the audience is single dad.
Okay.
So my middle, who's 11 years old now, he's been with me since 3 years old. Mm-hmm. So it's not traditional as far as family settings or child being with mum. Little boy stayed with me from the age of 3 because we had to. And I've managed to hold down a full-time job, raise him. And I think there's certainly an interesting topic as far as how men are perceived bringing up kids and how perhaps women are seen bringing up kids, because it's kind of very normal and natural, isn't it? Mums bring up their kids, but actually in this instance that wasn't the case.
And what do you think that difference is, how it is perceived if you're a man bringing up children as a single person?
Well, I don't know. I guess essentially you might feel the same way, but women have always seen as or being the mum that brings up their kids. It's just, when they're 1, 2 and 3 years old, you're very much naturally part of that cycle. Dads kind of go off, in a traditional sense, dads go off and earn a living and provide a house. Mums make a home, the breadwinners, all of that. And in our instance, it was very different. So I guess the contrast is when a little person gets to a certain age, they need. I heard an expression once: "It takes a village to raise a child."
I love that.
And I can't. I didn't get it at first when I was, when my little boy was very little and he had his own challenges. He had speech and language disorder, so he didn't start to talk till he was 6. So we had a mountain to climb as far as making sure that he was primed and set for the future. So language being a huge element, keeping hold of a job and being a counsellor at the same time. So my day jobs, I'm in sales. And then in the evenings, a few nights a week, I still do counselling. I work for the NHS as well. So all that time, it was like, I've got to bring up this little boy and I've got to be the person that I envisage to be so he can learn from me. So I've got to raise my standards to be the best human. And at the same time, dealing with his own challenges, and he wasn't talking. It was a tough time, but
when you say raise your standards to be the best human, tell us a bit more about that.
I guess it's easy for us to be comfortable in our own skin, be who we are, but then as soon as you're responsible for another little person, they don't do. Being a dad, this has definitely been one of the biggest things that I've learned. Telling your kids how to behave does fuck all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on board with that one.
Pointing the finger and telling your kids what they should be doing does nothing. If you set the scene by being the best person that you can be, with a little bit of empathy, being a counsellor, you'll understand that, and we all know what comfort that brings, being understood. But essentially, if I can raise my standards to be the best person that I can be, even if I'm making mistakes along the way, I know that I'm doing my very best to give my boy a chance.
That's powerful, because I think you're role modeling and demonstrating that you will be seen by your children as, in the eyes of a child, a god, aren't you, to them? But you've got such a responsibility to shape and mold, and however you approach it, it will in some way have an impact. So you want striving to make the best possible impact you can in raising your children by looking at yourself first, like the introspection and self-development, or you want to be the best version of yourself you can be, but that can't be easy.
Well, do you know what you just made me think of? How many times have you heard a parent say, kids first, I'll do anything for my kids, whatever happens, my kids must come first?
All the time.
Yeah.
It's part and parcel, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's wrong.
I agree. It's something that I talk to a lot of my clients have got kids, and I'm like, you can't help yourself, you can't help them, and that applies to kids as well.
He's spot on. When I think about how some mums trip themselves up saying, I'll do anything for my kids, but essentially what they're doing, they're betraying themselves, because they're not being authentic. They're not showing what self-worth is, self-concept, self-esteem is, because they're sacrificing it. Now, I know that there is a really fine line, but I think the nuance, the bit that made the biggest difference for me and my boys was to say, hardship will be good for them. Challenges will be good for them. I will love them unconditionally, but I do have standards, and they will learn those standards. But if I put myself first, which is a really bizarre concept when they're little and they are, you mentioned the word, you're a god. I don't think I don't think it's a god as such, but you are the most child. You are the most important thing, and they look at you and look to you for every steer in their world.
You're so influential without probably realizing that you are, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. 100%. I think off the back of what you said, one of the biggest lessons that I learned, and it was my partner leaving me, and post breakup, on great terms, but she had a little girl, or has a little girl, and I was a big part of her life for 3 years. And the biggest thing that she said, like the takeaway for me, was that this little girl was asking a lot about me at the beginning, and she turned around to the little girl of 6 and turned around and was like, I want you to know that it's not okay as a human or a young woman to be treated the way that Sam treated me at times. He was brilliant to you, but he wasn't good to me. And she was giving a 6-year-old life lessons by looking after herself. She chose to leave me. She was giving that child a life lesson. And I was like, fuck, that's so powerful. And it's so like in this day, I think, rare to be able to have a proper, that's a real conversation with a 6-year-old, right? And maybe the little girl didn't understand it quite fully, but she will one day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's her taking care of herself to and being so influential on her child.
And you're making an interesting point, actually. You think about the amount of guys that are attracted to a beautiful soul. They've got kids. The investment in investing in another family is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I don't think perhaps some ladies might appreciate that when a man commits and he takes on somebody else's kids, there is so much to lose, because if you lose your partner, your girlfriend, you lose the kids too.
Yeah.
And there isn't the cold, hard, brutal fact that you lose an entire lifestyle and connection.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, I mean, mine was all my own doing, so it's like fully accept it. But yeah,
It's a big price to pay, though, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah, and looking back, that was probably, as much as I've got a lot of respect and love for my ex-partner still, that was the hardest bit. It was the hardest bit, was being that, a stepdad in a way for this little girl of 3 years nearly, and then it's gone. Like you got no rights. I mean, I'm very fortunate that me and my partner are on good terms, and I still do see them both now and again. But that's not going to be forever, and I understand that. But yeah, like I say, people that mine was all my own doing, but it was fucking horrible. It was like losing my own child, because I always saw her as that.
Yeah.
To a degree.
The investment's big, isn't it?
Massive. Yeah, massive. It's huge. But it was a massive lesson for me as well, because when my old partner told me how she had explained it to her, even I was like, fuck. I was like, you are so right.
How much did that, well, I think you've just kind of answered it, how much did that match what your perception of you was, or hearing it out? Was it a bit of a wake-up call? Was it the inspiration? Was it
I think the wake-up call had already happened. I was already on the road to changing a lot of who I was and how I acted. But going back to what you said, I know that little girl didn't see me as anything other than, wow, like Sam, do you know what I mean? And thankfully, my partner kind of explained, she was like, Sam was amazing to you. And that's one of the things after the breakup. She was like, I literally cannot fault you for how you were with the little girl. Like, you would have been the best stepdad. But she needed to know that some of the stuff that she like heard and saw, and saw her mum upset, that's not okay to be treated like that from anybody, especially as someone who's meant to be a big male figure in their lives. And to hear that she was open to explain that to someone, but I think probably the biggest fear for me was that when she said that, did that little girl then go, oh, Sam's not as great as I thought he was? Oh, do you know what I mean? And that's like, fucking Jesus Christ. It's like, oh,
straight in the jugular.
Yeah, it is. And it's like, but I took pride in the fact that she was open about it, and that I don't think the little girl would think anything different of me now.
But I guess, reading between the lines then a little bit, you essentially got a new perspective of your ex-partner, that there is a way to be treated, and there is a way not to be treated.
Yeah.
And she's had to take the opportunity to say to a 6-year-old, this is not acceptable.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that happens that often.
No, I don't. And
I feel that's rare. Beautiful,
yeah,
but rare.
And I think it's so like powerful. I think. I mean, I've always said, and I still will, my ex-partner is one of the strongest women I know, and to have the courage and to turn around to her, because like she probably knew full well that that's a really hard conversation with any child of any age, but a 6-year-old probably not going to be able to compute it quite as much as what it might mean. But also knowing that there was a chance that she might then think differently of me, but she was like, no, like the message here is, you don't have to stand for being treated poorly. Like, the self-respect that she showed her little girl was massive. And I think that goes back to you being, like, she's obviously a single mum, you're a single dad. It's like, if you're showing your sons your self-respect, they're only gonna be like, yeah, Dad really looked after himself. Like, he did this, he did that. Like, that's a lesson taught without teaching a lesson. Does that make sense? You're not intentionally doing it, but yeah.
I think we're in interesting times where everyone wants to be empowered. Everyone wants to be self-sufficient, self-reliant. The boss. I took a word off the back of that. But I think, but But
Inside
I think,
joke.
but I think the reality of it is, I don't, you know, modern man, 40,000 years of evolution. We are designed to be in little tribes. We're designed to be in families. We're designed to be together. We're designed to look after each other. I saw something interesting on Instagram just the other day about as much as we like or dislike it, it's not the parent that brings up your child. It more often than not, it's the grandmother and extended family and friends. And, as soon as they become early teens, they're learning off their peers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you've kind of got to step in as a coach, don't do things for them. Allow them to make mistakes. Be there for when they fuck up, but be okay with it. And it's I guess the question I was just thinking to myself then is, am I a better parent on my own? I think there was a TED talk with I forget the lady's name. I'll come back to this later, but she was talking about healthy children being brought up by single parents and how they relate to crime, self-esteem. And it seems that dads seem to cope better being a single parent than mums do. Not that I'm saying this, I'm just regurgitating it, kind of fact. But does that make it okay then that I'm a single dad? No, I think my kids there should be a mum, there should be a dad. We've been doing this for thousands of years. We should continue doing so. And it worries me.
What worries you about that?
Well, you think about woke culture. You think about how certain sexuality is becoming our identity as opposed to our identity being our identity. How that infiltrates young people and how they find their self-worth and self-identity. There's something courageous about, a mum and dad sticking it out, working through,
sense?
as in like working through their challenges, working through some of their emotional problems, working
until
through
it
their
becomes
traumas.
detrimental to the children, I would imagine, though. I mean, are you saying that you think it's better to, or the sentiment is stay and work it out for the sake of the family unit?
I think it's a more honourable, bigger thing to consider. I don't think it's great that we should celebrate being single. Actually, you were talking about this as I left the room earlier. Being single is a great thing. Being single as a family when you've got kids isn't a great thing, in my view. I'm talking from a single dad's perspective. I bring my kids up with as much empathy, congruence, kindness, resilience, which I want to encourage with both my boys. I need them to engage with hardship because that's all they're going to get in the future, especially if you're male. It's part and parcel of
being a man.
It is.
Yeah.
In what sense? Either the hardship that you face from society?
I think so. I think, like, in my opinion, the modern man, the model of that, is fucked, to put it fucking frankly. Because you're meant to be okay. Look, like this is from a dating point of view, mainly from a youngish. I was going to call myself young then.
Well, I mean, you are. Relatively
I mean, I'm younger than both of you, so we'll go with that one, right?
So
a youngish heterosexual single man, right? That is meant to be in touch with all his feelings, have his shit together, have a great career, live on his own, do all these things, and it's just not feasible. Like, there's so much social pressure as a guy, I think, and
you've got to be
everything.
You've got to be tender and emotional, but then fiercely protective and dominant.
But everything's a knife edge.
Yeah, but then if I turn around and be like, oh, like, I'll open a car door for a female I'm dating, or any female, right? But if I project an emotion of discomfort or whatever, if we're out and some guy makes a pass at her, I'm then seen as overprotective. And it's like, well, no, I'm not. And it's like, what do you want me to be?
That's human emotion, I suppose.
If you want me to be the kind, caring guy that has a lot of respect for you and wants to do that, but then some guy's disrespecting me, so I'm then going to stand up and be like, well, hang on, mate, back up. Like, she's with me. and then I'm seen as, oh God, he's a bit protective, he's a bit jealous. It's like, what?
But isn't that any form of masculinity now is seen as toxic?
Yep.
Now, this is secondhand information. I've seen a couple of interviews when they talk about what this amazing word, toxic masculinity. I do believe that people can be toxic and they can be self-absorbed. That's fact. I see it.
It's not gender specific.
It's not gender specific.
No.
But we're very quick to then jump on the gender bandwagon to not take accountability and responsibility for our own actions or how we perceive them.
Yeah.
So I think in a modern age where where men are sitting with you talked about sort of the dating side of things and being your masculine self. Let me cut to the chase. I'm working with more single men now than I've ever done before. Since the pandemic, most of my clients are men that do not know how to behave.
Yeah.
They've been emasculated, they've been perpetrated, they've been vilified for just being masculine. Now, the sort of the 6 to 8 clients that I see a week, I'd be lying if I said it didn't have an effect. Sort of sitting here listening to the same story again and again and again.
And what is the story?
The story is essentially any form of masculine trait like pride, sport, holding your boundaries, which is a huge thing that we try to encourage. I've got female young people, male clients, so I've got a myriad. I'm just seeing it's weighted towards more men. But essentially, we should look after ourselves with every facet of our capability and our capability. When men do it, we're persecuted. When women do it, they're empowered. I don't know if you feel that is something along.
I think it's all like, we live in a world, we're humans, right? It's always a minority that ruin it for everybody else. And I was going to, before you mentioned it, I was like, I mean, I'm not a therapist, but you look at the data and like, obviously I've been in therapy, I'm not currently, but it shows evolution as men, that, like you said, there's never been more men in therapy. Mm-hmm. So that's a sign that men are thinking, do you know what? I don't want to be that stereotypical bloke. I'm not going to talk about my feelings. That's evolution, right? Okay, let me see. I don't want to learn more about myself. I think like the Andrew Tates and stuff like that ruin it a little bit.
See, that's interesting because I like him.
Do you know what? The message that he sends, I agree with. We've actually spoken about this on a previous about toxic masculinity, and the message that he gives out in terms of, you know, his niche, if you like, is that 18 to probably 30-year-old man. Stop playing fucking Xbox. Get up, go get a job, get a career. You know, he's provided a platform where he teaches like a lot of e-commerce and all this online stuff. Cool, if that's what you want to do. And like, he wants men to be, quote, men again. But I think it's his previous
stuff.
What does
that mean, though?
Well, that just means that
to be men again, and I get where you're coming from. It's hugely nuanced, but men again versus what? The emasculated, deconstructed.
Yeah, I think that it's like oppressed. The whole alpha beta thing, isn't it? Okay, it's like look, men were designed to be parts of tribes, to be leaders, to be hunters, to be gatherers, to be, you know, we're mammals. You know, it's very like archaic, but women were seen as like you cook, you clean, all that sort of stuff. Don't agree with that whatsoever. You know, go back to the dating thing. I find an independent woman that's got her shit together, got a great career, you know, and like ambition. Well, that's something that I really, really look for now. If someone's, in the nicest way possible, if someone's like, oh, you know, I'm doing this job and, you know, I'm happy with that, I'm probably going to do this for the rest of my life. In all honesty, that's a little bit of a turn off for me. I'm like, oh, like, I respect the fact that you're happy, you're content, but at the same time, do you not want bigger and more? And that's just a personal thing.
I think for me, you know, we were talking about sort of, you know, being a family. So what's it like to be, you know, a single dad, you know, family man in this day and age? Not easy, but I think it's a case of you just pull up your trousers and fucking get on with it. There's no choice. We talked about Andrew Tate. There are things that I think are innate in what he says about not being embarrassed to be male, which I hold dear, and I think good on you.
Yeah.
Is he a bit shouty? Yeah. Is he a bit embarrassing? Oh my God, he's really bad.
But what sentiments do you hold on to?
I think about holding accountability, responsibility, being stoic.
Yeah.
There are.
That's a philosophy, right?
Yeah. And he talks about religion. Not that I'm religious, but we are losing things in society where holding that accountability, holding that responsibility, giving back, looking after our community, looking after our family. You know, as Jordan Peterson would say, make your bed. You know, get up in the morning, tidy your room, look after the people that you love and you cherish around you. I think even Russell Brand talks about serving people. I love that concept.
Being an act of service.
Yeah, doing acts of service. Tate does actually, if you listen to the thread, that's what he's saying, but he's just a bit shouty, angry, trying to put the world to right, talking about
that's
the matrix.
Temperament, or that's
I
how
think you're right.
Comes across,
yeah,
isn't it?
and it's listening to that thread.
Yeah,
I think you're absolutely spot on. Go back 5-6 years. The internet never goes away, does it? Whatever you say on the internet, he's been a dick.
Yeah,
historically. The unfortunate thing is with that toxic masculinity side of things, anyone can pick up that clip and repost it, and there is your misogynistic human being, which he was.
Yeah.
But you know, Candice Owens, he did an amazing interview with her, and I just couldn't help being drawn to both of them. They're just like they've got the concepts of life and love and marriage and kids, and he's evolved, she's evolved. It was a good quality interview, and I think if you and I would be bad therapists if we judge people by their past.
Absolutely. Everyone can change. No, past behavior does not define who you are.
No. But I think that's what the internet's doing. I'm probably going off on a bit of a tangent.
No, but it's true, isn't it? Like you're going to find something to suit your narrative. That is what everybody like, especially in a world of social media. Like, Tate did, in my opinion, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not fucking studied all of his stuff, but he did all that stuff to begin with because it was fucking hell, this guy's controversial. Let's give him some, like, if you're going to get negative comments or positive comments, you still get comments. You're going to get traction. Your algorithms are going to work. You're going to blow up. So he was a fucking piece of shit talking about women in such a detrimental way, and really, I don't think he was delivering the same kind of message as he is now. But he was I've heard people that have been on his podcast that then they've been on further podcasts, and they're like, it is an act. You know, you hear about people on social media being certain people, but he does things in a certain way to get the attention that he needs.
Hook.
There's the hook. Exactly that. Draw you in. But yeah, I mean, the geezer's in phenomenal shape. He's a fucking multi-millionaire. Like, he's doing something right.
He also holds accountability, people accountable for the things that they do wrong. You know, I think those individual podcasts he does with his brother.
Yeah,
I don't like. I really don't like. I watch him and I go, you were doing so well.
Yeah.
Why did you trip up? But he is what he is, and you just said it's his character, it's kind of his behavior. I think now when I see when he has more mature interviews, he did an interview, and I don't know the guy's name, but he's a psychotherapist, and it kind of starts off with Tate saying, you know, therapy's for losers, you know, and being therapist, you think, careful, that's
steady on, mate.
That's a difficult message to promote when there are other human beings, other guys who are not in your remit that could really do with that initial boost to then start taking control of their lives.
For me, it's a couple of things. One, it's about anything in the extreme is damaging.
Yes.
I'm not saying that you can't be the version of yourself you want to be, that you can't like sport, that you can't, I don't know, provide for your family, that I think we use that term toxic masculinity too much. I think there is a toxic version of any behavior.
Yeah. That's it.
But for me, it's, you know, any extreme is way too damaging. And if we focus on sort of I guess I'm not saying how many percentage of people there are like this, but if you are so focused on shouting the loudest, being the most brash, being the most gobby, whatever, and you're not listening to somebody, then that in itself is something to be mindful of. You can't just shout the loudest and expect your message to be heard. And you don't have to believe everything everyone says either. You don't have to take it all as gospel.
I think women have had this for a long time with feminism, right? If you'd have asked me 5 years ago or 10 years ago, oh, she's a feminist, it was seen as a derogatory term, but it's not. And I think this is the male version of getting called a feminist from blokes that weren't. And I'm probably treading a really fine line here, but most people, in my opinion, that would throw it out as an insult, oh, you're a toxic man, is the same people that, if you flipped it, the man would turn around and go, oh, you're such a feminist, because you're not strong enough in yourself and happy in yourself. But dare I say it, you're so insecure that you can't handle how strong that opposite sex is, so you're going to throw a derogatory term at them.
Being assertive isn't the same as being a toxic masculinist. Masculinist?
No.
Do you know what I mean? It's not being toxically masculine or a feminist if you're assertive with boundaries.
Yeah.
That's being assertive is separate from having any of those negative connotations. Not saying being a feminist is negative either. What I'm saying is you don't throw that out there as a firing shot because someone is.
I'm not saying everyone that says someone's toxic, as a toxic man, I'm not saying they're insecure. I don't want my words to get mixed up there, because that's not the message I'm trying to say. That my opinion is, like, there is still toxic men out there. No matter, you could be the most secure bloke, woman, and you see someone's behaviour.
I know one. Yeah,
exactly. And you're like, mate, you are toxic masculinity. You are the epitome of it. But I do find that it's very easy to just throw it out there. And there was a lot that I used to agree with. I used to use it to wind like my partner up. Like I used to, because as I've mentioned, she's a very, very, very strong, independent woman, and I always used to like push her buttons with it and go, "Oh, I really agree with what this person said," because I knew it. I didn't believe it. I didn't agree with him, but I was saying stuff because I knew it would wind her up. Because I was so insecure of myself.
You can say strong, independent woman with really positive undertones, but if you're a strong, independent man, is that what you're saying? That's not received well. Now,
I guess
there's prejudice against being a strong, independent man versus being a strong, independent woman.
I'll put my business hat on. I've got a couple of individuals that I know in London that in the tech space, I'm trying to be as vague as possible.
They don't work for Microsoft.
In a place on the earth.
Canary Wharf.
Yeah.
They wouldn't get a job opportunity if there were other cultures and different sexes available.
Okay.
They would have.
So it's like positive discrimination.
So and they are noticing it.
Yeah.
And these are really quite. It's two people, one in particular I can think of, more capable than anyone to do the job in that industry that I'm thinking of, but because of certain changes in policy or woke culture or whatever you might call it, he's not number one on the list because of his capability. He's in a list of, well, they are in a list of, we've got to be inclusive, and who's actually fit for the job might be a secondary option. So I struggle with that a little bit.
Yeah, it shouldn't matter who you are. It's if you're the best person for the job. Doesn't matter whether you're male, female, whatever ethnic minority you are, whatever colour your skin, like sexuality, anything. And I'm very fortunate in my job that it's one of the protected characteristics in my industry that, and it should, I imagine it is all over, but you don't discriminate against, it's like the best person for the best job gets the job. So
any prejudice is bad though, isn't it? And
indeed.
It's fear-based, it's destructive, it's reductive, narrow-minded, and ugly, quite honestly.
Do you know what, the day and age that we live in now, and obviously bringing up little boys as well, I think about when I was a kid, when I was between the ages of 11 and 15, I had all walks of life, all kinds of friends, male, female, all different ethnicities, and none of it fucking mattered.
No.
None of it. We didn't even acknowledge anything because we didn't acknowledge it. But now we're diversifying in so many ways, and everyone wants to be their own island, and everyone wants to have their own voice. Maybe from a father's perspective, I'm getting quite protective of that because I want it to be more. I think I would like.
Well, you want your children to grow up in a world that's
just normalized,
safe. And, yeah.
So you're going to meet different people, yes. You're going to meet different cultures, yeah. Are you going to be persecuted for being your gender or not? That's what I don't want. So I think that's one of the things that, even listening out to my kids' school, I heard, I don't know how true this is, but it's a rumor that's gone round in my own village. I can't believe I'm saying this. Apparently there is a child that went to our local school that, because they identified as either a cat or a dog, and the teacher wouldn't, or teachers wouldn't allow that, that there was a big upheaval. Where have we gone wrong? Where have we gone wrong? So, you
that's just not being a man, that's being sane human being, right?
Well, we're indulging in behaviors that we need more conventional. Did you see that?
Yeah.
What?
There's a moth, a massive big moth on the light. It just moved. It caught my eye.
Hello. God, blimey.
Come out your wallet, mate.
It's the size of a bat.
It is. I mean, that wingspan is what? A couple of inches?
Yeah, at least 3 foot.
I'm jealous.
It's right by my head as well. Just saying.
You two
You're lucky to still be here.
Moth watch.
I guess for me is, what's the balance of how I portray myself so my kids learn what's healthy. We do need to accept everyone for who they are, what they think, what they feel, within reason. And that reason I'm still kind of sitting with at the moment about, should you be, if you want to identify as a cat? No, you can't identify as a cat. You're a little boy. You've got responsibilities. So I don't want to impose on them where it's all my stuff. That's the balance, I guess.
I mean, what do you think the biggest challenges for your boys growing up, heading towards, or, basing on where we are now, what do you think they're going to face?
Well, 2 things. What they're allowed to be as male. We still needs to settle. I think what we're experiencing now is a sway in one direction. And I think, the amount of young ladies friends, acquaintances that I have that are now swinging more towards being, they want to be mums. I've got a client at the moment. She's, career driven. What's the undertone? She actually wants to be a mum, but she's been sold to be career driven, and she's not entirely buying into it now. So it's a real inspiring moment for her, a bit of not a wake up, but a breakthrough.
Yeah.
It's like, actually, this is what I want, and I don't have to be this. So from a family setting, they're going to struggle in what defines male, female. I think the biggest one, and I've got a podcast, there's a lady called Kathy Nibbs, who is an expert on technology, social media, and the evolution of children. And she's got some interesting concepts where she's done a couple of TED Talks. She talks about how children are now evolving into different human beings because they've got the supercomputer in their hand and they're exposed to essentially things they shouldn't be, but they're worlds that we have no concept of. Even as me, anything that my boy's exposed to, I do my best to ensure that he doesn't have too much exposure to Snapchat, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and the worst one of the lot is TikTok.
Yeah, because Jesus, there's some of the stuff you see on there.
We are being programmed by programs.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's the degradation of humanity based on an algorithm that rewards certain types of behavior. But because there's that notion of the path of least resistance, we tend to be, I'll use a bizarre concept. Facebook a little while ago, I saw one of these pimple popper posts. I thought, oh, that's gross. Yeah, I watched it for about 30 seconds.
Ugly.
Fatal. Because now what do I get on my
Oh no.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's all pimple popper videos.
And if I talk about, and I remember being at a friend's house
Horrible.
a couple of years ago and we were talking about cat food. All of a sudden, Facebook, I'm getting cat food advertisements. Don't even have a cat.
Oh yeah.
But my phone is listening. But my phone is listening. So why do I bring that up? How is that going to affect my kids? Our culture is being steered by algorithms, and that's fucking terrifying. So that's what, you know, in answer to your question, what are the things that worry me is the dynamic of what healthy relationship should look like. Not saying that I've got it right, single man as well, just the perfect example. But technology, how's that going to infiltrate young minds?
I agree, and I don't know who said this. I think a few people have said it over various platforms and various podcasts and stuff, but it doesn't just apply to children. And I think we've spoken a lot about Andrew Tate and stuff. There has never been an easier time in life to fucking learn something and use it to be successful, because
it's there.
Honestly,
it's
in 15 years, university is going to be null and void. My opinion, but there's a guy, Christ, I can't remember his name, Simon Squibb, heard of him? He's like a businessman, and he does a lot of TikToks, does a lot of Instagrams. He's one of these guys that goes around, probably been in Southampton, is like, have you got a dream? Yeah, I want to start a clothing brand. Okay, well, there you go. There's 500 quid. Set up an Instagram now. I'm going to use my team. Yeah, right. Phenomenal guy. And I get really engrossed in his videos. But I saw a clip the other day, and he was like, he interviewed a guy for a job, and it was about marketing, about university. And he was like, what can you tell me about TikTok advertising? What can you tell me about Instagram? What can you tell me about Meta? And he was like, oh, nothing, but I can tell you about the like Google or something in 1995. He's like, it's fucking irrelevant. And he's like, but all these people can learn so much through the internet. So if you're going to use it as a tool, fantastic. But at the same time, there's so much detrimental shit out there.
This is a really good point. So I run POC, Paradox of Change podcast. So we're inspiring people to talk so we can have like these healthy conversations. The thing for me is about 8 months ago, I've got two accounts. I've got my private and I got the POC. Mm-hmm. What I see on my private and what I see on my POC are polar ends. I have to go really careful what I research on one to the other. And if I start sharing from one account to the other, say, oh, that might be an interesting topic for the podcast, or that's a really inspiring person, you get that nuance from that point onwards.
Yeah.
But I don't have any control over it.
Yeah.
And I think to your point, POC, because I want it to be positive mental health and about growth, and in the world is your fucking oyster at the moment. Yeah. There's a contrast. This is a great time to be bringing up kids.
Yeah.
It's amazing because you can be anything, but it's also the worst time to be bringing up kids because kids are confused more so now than they ever have been before. I work for an organisation, charity, Eastern Youth Counselling Services. I'm now one of the chairs on the committee, and if I go back 10 years when I started working there, kids were same story about challenges around identity, bullying, anxiety. They were kind of the three. There was obviously the abuse, sexual abuse, paedophilia, any of those kind of challenging aspects of how they've been brought up. But the three core ones, anxiety being probably the biggest, but identity was huge. Let's face it, we're all trying to find our identity. It's a never-ending story, is it? You keep developing. But young people now being exposed to the internet and the algorithms, I think it influences identity so much we get confused. So that's kind of one of my concerns about what the kids experience.
Well, it's even more important then to have a stable, emotionally intelligent, curious, open parent at home, regardless of gender, that can guide
100%
someone through that crazy chaos, which is the technology that we have nowadays.
You don't even have to be the guide. You just have to be open to being supportive.
Well, yeah, and hold them in that space, you know, be that constant in their life while everything is turbulent and changing. You can foster that relationship where they come to you to explore and share, and you can debate, you know, and but the fact that you're bringing up your children with such an open-minded perspective and the message of, you know, be who you want to be, it's powerful because not everyone has that.
I wouldn't want to restrict my kids because, I mean, other parents must be out there. My youngest and my middle, so they're 5 and 11. When they were first born, they were like, "Oh, they're just like each other." That didn't last long. They are honestly, they are chalk and cheese. One's a fiery rocket.
Yeah.
The other, the middle child, my boy Blue, is just the most empathic, open-minded, just caring, almost to the point I worry about him because, like, we need resilience here. We need to toughen you up. But he's got some qualities. The youngest one is just going to be a pocket rocket. He is a pocket rocket. Everything is his way or not at all.
Yeah.
He runs the family.
And what influence do you think you've had on both of them? Because obviously their characteristics, right?
Yeah, consistency. Because you must have had families or even experienced it in your own dynamic where, you know, you got to treat all your kids the same. Don't believe that either.
Nah, it's equity,
Well,
not
they're
quality,
not
right?
the same. They're different individuals.
They need different things, and like where my youngest, I might be a little bit more. I've asked you to do this, and then without warning again, because there is no second warning, it's taken away, and it's like, what have you done? Why have you taken that? Because I asked you to, and you didn't, and he gets that
because you've instilled early on that what you say means it. It means something. It's not third, fourth, fifth, sixth chance, and then being driven around the bend because there's so much conflict.
But it's doing it with a respect, without the screaming and shouting, without the persecution, without the pointing. It's like, this is how we behave, so this is what I'm going to demonstrate. But my middle child, my 11-year-old, different kind of kettle of fish. Is just like, can we do this? Is it okay to? You know, and he's already doing it. And if he thought I was upset with him or I got cross with him, he'd be mortified.
Yeah,
it'd be too much. It's not within, you know, the fact of they're two very different characters.
I would say that in my experience, listening to you talk, you know, I don't agree with everything that you've said, but that's okay. And we can role model that healthy discussion. But to me, overall, you're the epitome of what I would say a healthy modern man is. And if I had a dad like you, I think my life would have been very different, because my dad was an extreme in other senses where he didn't speak about his emotions at all, wasn't very present. He provided for us, don't get me wrong, and he was around enough, but emotionally speaking wasn't any support. Whereas you're fostering a culture within your family of openness, and you're there, you're present, and you're talking to your children about their feelings. And I think that is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
I have a saying in the house that I hope resonates with both of them, that all feelings are okay.
Yeah.
All behaviors are not.
It's making the distinction between you as a person or them as a person and their behavior. They are separate. I don't agree with how you've behaved, but I still accept you as a person and love you as a person.
Well, and it's age and stage. I fully expect my 5-year-old to kick off and have a tantrum. That's what he's meant to bloody do.
Because he's 5.
And I think there's a misconception about what a parent is there for. My instinct says we are the safe space for them to push our boundaries and push our buttons and be obnoxious, because it's the safest space to practice that, because we're going to be doing that when we're an adult.
Yeah.
When we're a grown-up, we'd rather try and figure all this stuff out now in a safe and secure space and place, and then not have to make the bigger mistakes when we're older.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I would say, though, that you have a higher degree than many of self-awareness, and you're bringing that to the table with your parenting than some.
Maybe.
But then this just kind of goes back to that if you hadn't done the work on yourself professionally as well, like learning like the therapy, if you hadn't been that, then you couldn't be that for your kids.
I think because I'm an old dad, so I'm 51 now. So I started when I was 40.
Younger than you, James.
But there,
so hot.
but there is something to be said for. So you've been in therapy, right? You're happy and proud to say there was an age and space and time in my life that I thought I need a bit of support.
To be honest, I'm a massive advocate for it. Like, massively. Providing you're using it for the right reasons. I've done a few stints, and the first two were to try and get my point across and get a little bit more validation as to why I was acting out the way I was, and I got it because I was interpreting everything, and my therapist said was like, "Yeah, you're allowed to do you." I have a little bit of a thing about therapy, and obviously I'm surrounded by therapists right now, so I need to be a little bit careful.
No, I don't think you should.
But I'm not gonna be. But it's like, and I've done the whole therapy thing, and I joined like a life coaching program as well from my personal coach, life coach, whatever you want to call them. And I got sick of talking about the same shit in therapy. It got to a point where, and I'll be honest, straight up, the reason I left therapy was because it got to a point where I felt so empowered talking about my past and why I'd acted in certain ways. And I did is it psychodynamic, where you do like a timeline and all that sort of stuff? Is that what it is? Is that the phrase of
Possibly,
type of therapy?
Yeah.
Well, it's a type of therapy. But yeah.
So I did that, and I learned a lot about my early years and how much they had an influence on me as a person. Not to use them as an excuse, but to do that, and especially as a man. And I'll talk about, like when we talk about dads in our lives, I'll give you a bit of an insight into how influential mine was, or is. But it got to a point in the therapy where I was doing the coaching program alongside therapy, and they collided with dramatic effect, because my life coaching is all about setting goals and having a bit of purpose, a bit of a mission to, strive towards something. All right, I want to achieve this, so I'm going to put in the work to achieve this. I'm going to put a plan together, strategy. And this maybe used to be the way that I interpreted the conversations in my therapy session, but it was like, what happens if you sit still? And I was like, I don't want to. And she's like, well, that's not healthy. And I'm like, says you. And I took that as, hang on, this is working for me. If I sit still, and she's like, why can't you sit still? Why do you have to be working towards something? I'm like, because I want to. I find it empowering to know that I can achieve something, but I can sit with my own thoughts. And I took that as, I'm done talking about it now. Like, and I have this thing where I'm all for talking about shit, but talking don't do anything. That's double negative. That's terrible English. Doesn't do anything if you're not going to put it into any practice. And that's just my opinion, because everyone's got trauma. But if you're going to use that trauma to help you, fantastic.
I have an observation, because I think you're onto something there. If I think about me as a young man, completely lost, I went to therapy because I had unsavory characteristics and behaviors that I was living and breathing.
Yeah. Went
to therapy, and it didn't work, but that was CBT. And not that I'm
I did that initially.
Yeah. And it was great all the time. There was maximum effort in doing the homework and the practice, and the avoidance of the underlining challenges. And I look at that now from a helicopter view historically, and I can see that, but at the time didn't know it. Another therapist a few years later, that one clicked. So I think working with the right people
absolutely
is, well, it goes twofold. Working with the right person and working in the right modality based on our characters are absolutely crucial.
It's got to be relational. You've got to be able to form a bond with the person you're working with.
You've got to trust them.
We're all individuals, so you've got to be flexible in the way that you work.
Sam, you mentioned something before in an episode you did here a while back, and your therapist challenged you, and you didn't like it. And there was a bit of me going, as just like an onlooker, just because I'm curious more than anything else, I found it good and bad all at the same time. It's just like, should you have been challenged? Because I don't challenge, I do it very differently. It's almost like a different language in like client-centered. But sometimes you need that challenge, or you need to separate from your counsellor to go and get a better one. There is purpose to everything that happens.
Yeah.
And I think in the age and stage that you might be, using me as an example, the type of therapy I had at first, and then moving to another therapist, and then getting that kind of a base setting of identity was the springboard for everything I know now. And then realizing how it empowered me, and then thought, there is an opportunity for me to give back. So I started the process of being a therapist, and you know what that is, like 3, 4, 5 years, depending on what course you go on. But it ain't stopped.
No, of course not. No.
Having still having therapy, still having a supervisor, there is a definite journey through that process. And I think what you're saying, when your two worlds collided, when you had your coach and you had your personal therapy, I think is something encouraging, because it means that you've grown.
Yeah, massively.
When you get to that point and you think, I don't need I can go and get top-up sessions, I can have new challenges when I meet them, but I know that the therapist is there. For me, I sometimes think of it as an opportunity to hold up the mirror, because you're so engrossed in your life. Your point, I need that focus.
Yeah.
I want to have that drive. This is really good. It's not an avoidance. This is my character. I want to do these things. It's not something that I'm using to avoid everything that I've done historically. So I kind of think that, you know, from a male perspective, we are driven by purpose.
Yep.
We are driven by goals. We are driven by finding value.
Is that what you were saying, Sam, about the go, achieve, persevere?
I mean, she's not going to listen to this, but phenomenal therapist. And I had like that level of trust was, I've never felt so vulnerable in my life, but I used to joke about it that, I turned up 24 hours early for a session once because I was so excited to go to therapy. And I loved sitting there and bawling my eyes out for 50 minutes when you fuckers charge by the hour. That's a con. But yeah, I was just like, I love this feeling. And I put videos out about it, and anyone that's ever come to me and said, what would you say about therapy? Do it. If it, like you say, I was very fortunate that I got given therapy through work, and that great therapists, but work for a public organisation, very limited to what they can give you in terms of time and availability. Then found my private one, and I don't know how hard it is, but kind of like just hit it off straight away. And I was like, fucking hell, this is really therapy. And I absolutely loved it. So I'm not saying that, you know, I didn't have it wasn't beneficial to me, because it really was. But when it come to the point where I was like, okay, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that. She's like, why have you got to achieve something all the time? Like, because I want to. And then the challenge you're talking about from previous, I respected that, but this challenge I didn't. And then I was like, oh no, like I don't want to lose that trust in us, because we've got a really good thing going. But the fact that you've just challenged that what I'm doing, I enjoy. I'm not live for this, but this is working for me. I feel confident doing it, and I'm bettering myself while still coming to you and feeling vulnerable. I interpreted it, and this probably isn't how she meant it, but I interpreted it as, well, you're basically saying that's a bad thing, and I don't like the way that makes me feel. So I'm probably going to remove myself from the situation for a period of time to focus on what I know makes me feel good. And yeah, I haven't been back since, and you know, I probably will hit therapy again at some point. I'd like to think that I could go back to that therapist. But yeah, I think there's like my coach says, talking don't cook rice. And it is what it is. Like, if you use it, I love talking about stuff, but
there is something about surrounding yourself with people that have either gone through that process, not that in a sense of like a trauma bond, but
I know. Just for people listening, it is 30 degrees outside temperature in this studio I think I've ever felt in my life.
We have a small fan. We do not have aircon.
The fan is the size of a
The moth is
compact
making
disc.
more
The moth
flapping with his wings.
The moth is still very real. It's all right. I've got my eye on it at all times.
James is scared of
It is a bit warm.
Well, I just don't like things flying around my face. You know, all up my personal
Take
space.
as many innuendos as you want from that.
And it's a big bugger as well, isn't it? But anyway.
And that one.
You again. You are just full of innuendos today.
I've got a
Incorrigible.
month's worth because I haven't seen you.
That's true, actually.
Have you
We've
missed
got to
each
make up
other?
tonight. I haven't thought about him once. No.
Yeah.
I have. Of course I have.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
We've
I've missed
exchanged
you
a lot-
too.
Yeah, we've exchanged a lot of messages.
Missed you, Elliot, and you, Sam, because you've both been out
It's
of
a
my life
great
for a while.
dynamic.
Yeah. But we've been speaking about family quite a lot today and being a male and raising children, whether, you know, being a single dad or not. But I'm really curious, Elliot, about what you might want to say to single dads or dads in general out there about raising their children. What would you say is really important to remember as a male and a father raising little people in this day and age? What do you think they would benefit from hearing if they're struggling, or if they're lost, or if, you know, they feel like they're oppressed in some way because of how they are?
Something I heard a little while ago that resonated is, how would you feel about your kids being in the situation that you're in now, and being the person that you are? And it kind of highlights the accountability of you've got to be the best person that you can be.
Okay.
End of story. It's
So if how would you feel if they were in your circumstances?
yeah. Would you be proud of them,
okay.
or would you wish better for them?
I think on, not to interrupt, but when I coach people, if you flip it, when you're about to do the work on yourself, and you're like, oh, I need to be this, I need to be that. It's like, are you a role model for your kids? And that, if they've got kids, like, that is like, oh fuck, no, I'm not, am I? Nah, you're being a bit of a prick, mate. So sort of shit out. And it's the same concept, right? Like,
I've often brought in their clients' children, but, you know, male and female, and said,
it's their leverage.
What's happening here? If you know, you could take that step back and look at what impact it's having on the children, or if you were to have a conversation with them, however many years on, just reminding them that that child in their life is soaking up everything. And how can you be the best version of yourself you can be? Not about being perfect.
No such thing.
Because we're not perfect.
There is.
But you strive to be the best you can be, the best human you can be.
There is this concept that I sort of toy with, and I don't have a definitive, path to this. But I ask my kids what they think, not because they're going to steer decisions, but they are valuable. And every now and then, even my 5-year-old comes out with a gem, and I go, "They were right."
Yeah,
yeah.
Really need to treat them like. In therapy, you would hope that our clients get to the point, including ourselves, that we treat ourselves like a best friend. And I think that's something. When you ask me, what would I share? That's another thing that I would expect my kids to evolve into, treat themselves like their very best friend.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? It's
look after yourself, befriend yourself, like yourself, love yourself.
Not the narcissistic approach, but
No.
There's an accountability that you've got to take into consideration. I think more than anything else, any parent loves their kids unconditionally. They just absolutely dote on them. Honestly, being a parent is the single best thing that I could have ever done. But it holds a big responsibility about how you behave and how you interact with the world, what you do, your aspirations. You can't mess about, because they grow up and then they'll see you for the fraud that you are.
that's it.
They're one of the biggest transitional moments in life, I think, is when you realise that your parents are people.
And also being able to forgive them.
And then being able to
recognise
forgive
stuff.
them and take responsibility for the fact that they are imperfect, and so are you.
Yeah.
And that if we all take responsibility for our own stuff, however we get there, everyone is much better off, rather than blame and shame and anger and
you can accept it, but everyone's done their best, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably some parents
you'd like to think people strive to do their best. I'm sure that's not the case every time.
No, of course
we know
not.
it isn't, but yeah, it certainly sounds like, Elliot, you're striving to be the best father you can be, but it doesn't sound like you're doing it in a way that you're trying to hold yourself up to impossible ideals, but actually you're taking it one step at a time. You're very reflexive in the way that you are. You think about your behavior, and you ask your children who have their voice what they think, but that doesn't mean, like you said, that they then determine what you're having for dinner every night, or whether or not you stay out an extra 2 hours if you've gone out.
Chicken nuggets guaranteed every night.
Never underestimate the power of a chicken nugget.
Generationally, like, and I wasn't brought up like this, but parenting was almost seen as a dictatorship in the past.
Oh yeah, do what I say, not what I do.
Yeah, and now
kids were seen, not heard.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's like, go back to my ex and the little girl. That's a fucking adult conversation with a 6-year-old. Like, kids are a lot smarter than what we think, right?
And that's why they come out with the gems. If you let them have their voice, you're like,
but you treat them like, don't treat them like an adult, like we'd have a conversation.
No, because I do believe there are things that you should keep from your children.
Yeah,
like there is a need to know in some ways, but not allowing them to express their feelings, and you in return.
Yeah,
that reminds me of a phrase I've heard before. If you treat your kids like geniuses, that's what they'll become. If you treat your kids like shitheads, that's what they'll become. And I think that actually traverses into friends, family.
Yeah, I think that applies across all. Yeah,
universal, I guess. Yeah,
you want kids, don't you? I can tell.
Yeah. I can't wait to be a dad.
Really?
Yeah. Sorry, mate, you can't give them to me.
I was smiling because I thought, well, how lucky they'll be. Not that I'm going to be your child's other dad.
I think like obviously I touched on previously, like the comment that my ex made about, you're a phenomenal stepdad to, not legally, but that's the term that we used. Yeah, I think I'll be a good dad, and I can't wait. Like, sitting here with you, and I mentioned about my dad, like, when I look back and I think, like, my career I was an electrician straight from school. I then went into project management, but then all I wanted to be was a firefighter. What I wanted to do, and I didn't want to join any fire service. I wanted to join London Fire Service, and
got your standards.
20, yeah. I mean, don't read the papers, but yeah. And then fast forward from that 5-year-old, like 28 years later, and I left school and I became an electrician, and then because my dad was an electrician, and then I joined the fire service because my dad was a firefighter, and like, he's now retired at the fire service, and I'm like, fuck. How influential was he? And it's only when you go through it and you look back, and I'm
that's a good point.
And it's like, this guy was my role model, still is. I've watched the way that, and this is kind of where like it kind of splits off a little bit, but he has treated my mum like an absolute queen. Brought me and my brother up, that cliche protector, provider. I've never wanted for anything in my life. I've watched him work 2 jobs for 30 years. Sit on his ass for 2 weeks in Antigua because he just needed a fucking break. And I was like, you are a man. You are the guy that I strive to be. I treated people pretty poorly, not in like by everybody's standards. Something that he would never do. So that's kind of a thing on me. Like, oh, okay, well, I've hit that firefighter. I've seen that role model, and I've wanted to, emulate's the right word, right? I wanted to emulate him there, but why couldn't I do it on an emotional basis with the way I treat people? And obviously that's the thing for me in therapy, and I now know why. But yeah, and like he didn't intentionally do those jobs because he was like, oh, my kid's gonna want to be like me one day. But from a dad's point of view, I've never actually asked him this, but how fucking good was that feel that your son literally wants to follow in your footsteps so much? That must show you, do you know what, I've done an all right job here.
It makes you wonder how much of it is ingrained, but the how it gets infiltrated, because maybe that resonates a little bit with what I'm trying to do with my boys, rightly or wrongly. but just by being who you are, maybe it's respect.
That's
you
what
had
it is,
you had a respect, and then that seemed like the logical path, the emotional path to go down.
But that's it, and he was just being him, doing what he wanted to do in life, looking after his kids, looking after his wife, following a career, and he's like, and he's literally been so influential in mine that he didn't know that, but and like going back to what you said about earlier about wanting kids, if I am fortunate enough to have kids and a boy, and one day they turn around and be like, "Oh, I want to be a firefighter like my daddy," fucking hell, there's my heartstrings gone. Like that is it, innit? You know, people talk about firefighters being heroes, and it's proof. My dad is. He's fucking so like that is. We spoke about you said about being a god, but your parents can be your heroes. Don't get me wrong. My mum's fucking amazing too. Mum, if you're listening to this, I love you. But
mine too.
Yeah, but yeah, and it's like
and
how
you, Mum. Yeah.
how influential was him without even realizing it. And I think I'm not a parent, but you see from the outside, parents try too hard to be that parent of talk about your feelings. You could do. Just let them be and let them come to you almost. And I feel like that's kind of what you're saying that you're doing. You know, let them kids be humans.
Unconditional, positive regard. Obviously, that's a therapeutic term, but I think it does bode well with your kids.
Yeah,
and it's interesting hearing what you're saying. I just sort of sharing a little personal item. I didn't meet my dad until I was 18.
Yeah,
I didn't meet my eldest son until about a year and a half ago. So that was a new addition to the family.
Yeah,
fucking huge situation. Beautiful young man. The irony that I didn't meet my dad till I was like 18, and he didn't meet his dad till he was like early 20s, well 20. You couldn't fucking write.
no.
And the irony that we are all similar. I won't go into the details, but we talk about stuff, and the way we act, our mannerisms, so how we dress, musical instruments, attire, concepts are all pretty much identical. My youngest boy isn't. You know, he's his own, maybe takes a little bit more of his mother. But to the point that you're making around, you know, passing down the generation, you know, being a firefighter, how cool that would be if some of it has to be DNA and genes. Some of it has got to be environmental.
Yeah, and I think it's a mixture.
It's nature nurture thing, right?
And there's no rhyme or reason. I think it's luck of the draw. But it is interesting that you can kind of lead a life, you can have aspirations, and then you meet your eldest when he's 20, and he's, I'm not going to say exactly the same, but fucking
there are
similar.
lots of similarities.
Just you know, and it still haunts me now because I've missed out on the childhood bit, which is the stuff that I have focused on with my two younger boys to make sure that they've got that stability, that credibility, consistency above all else. So
it's a beautiful story.
No, he's a good lad.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, definitely.
Elliot, thank you so much for being here in your own house.
Yes, no, I enjoyed the journey. Wasn't too far. I enjoyed being here.
As we said at the beginning, the commute, you know, was very small. But
will you bring me back again? Yeah. Something a little bit more lighthearted.
Well, will you have us back to keep recording here? Because we very much appreciate it.
We've you know, the structure non-existent, and I fucking love that. That's how this podcast was designed, right?
We have a conversation.
We have a conversation.
There's a theme, and then it's abstract.
That's it.
Yeah, but it's been really interesting listening to your points of view, and you're so open and vulnerable in how you share what you shared. So thank you very much for that, and we've loved having you on the podcast.
Yeah. You mentioned about POC.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, please, yes.
So just explain what that is, where people can find you.
Yeah, so Paradox of Change, inspired by 3 practitioners. So we've actually got myself as a therapist. We've got a lady called Lottie, who's a couples counsellor, psychosexual psychotherapist, and then a lady called Fee, who's also a coach. So, I think what you were saying earlier and why it resonates so much is I think there is a place for therapy. There's a place to evolve, and with relationships, and then there's a place to evolve into that next chapter, which is, looking at the coach side of things. So we interview therapists, we interview entrepreneurs, and ultimately clients that we've worked with before. So that's bringing real stories, real experiences. So exactly what you were talking about earlier, your own experience of therapy.
Okay.
And because there's so different modalities, I think it would be nice to debunk some of the stereotypical assumptions and just have a nice place to go, this is my experience. This was what therapy did for me. And if it helps anyone go, that's what I'm experiencing. Yeah. We've done our goal.
And so your socials?
So I've got POC on Instagram, Facebook. All you look for is the paradox of change, and you'll be able to find us. So cool. Appreciate that.
Of course.
Appreciate that.
I mean, I was on your podcast. It was a wonderful experience.
Yeah. Not as hot as it is now, though.
No, it was way cooler. I am melting.
It is very warm.
In this moment in time. I'm not entirely sure of myself.
I'm going to invest in a fridge, a big one.
But we haven't recorded a podcast in the summer, and probably one of the highest temperatures we've had so far. So, but thanks again. I know.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure,
amazing.
Elliot. And of course, we'll be back next time.
Cool.